I've been working on a general analysis of the cryptosphere. I've been looking for vulnerability to corruption adoption, lack of system dynamics, aggregation of wealth, and sustainability issues. I found some, but I don't think any of them are defeaters. I want to explain it, but first I want to describe the way that the blockchain and cryptocurrencies work in plain English. I'm going to use Ethereum as an example because it's well known and has created a lot of interesting complexity. The blockchain is pretty much a network of computers that are run by system administrators who are called miners. It's a monetary system because the miners mine or mint the currency by running the system. That means they process all of the transactions. All of the work that's being done is broken up into small chunks, and every time a chunk gets done, a miner shows proof of that work being done and gets paid in a newly minted coin. So that's where the coins come from, and that connects them directly to something of value in the system, which is the work being done. They also get paid by something called gas and fees. Gas is essentially the overhead, and fees are pretty much profit. They are kept separate for a couple of reasons. The gas or overhead or expenses, if you will, are calculated beforehand and are expected to have at least a down payment on it to begin with. The transaction won't begin being processed without it. Fees are kind of like a tip at this point. You get to choose how much you would like to pay in fees, and the miners decide if they will accept that amount. If you have a transaction or a payment or something that you want moved through pretty quickly, you can offer a relatively high fee and someone would likely get it done quickly. In that sense, it's kind of like a bribe. It may seem a little bit annoying right now, but it may be necessary in the future. You see, all of that overhead and labor has to be paid for, and there may be a time when minting the coins no longer makes sense. And I want to explain that with a market model. You can think of the blockchain as a company. It's kind of like a co-op of independent contractors who get paid with shares in the company and the combination of overhead and profit. The coins do work similarly to shares from that perspective, but not from every perspective. I want to make that very clear. This is nothing but an analogy. Now, that company has a market for the financial services it's offering, and the market will eventually saturate. What that means is the number of people who wish to use those financial services is limited, and the company will eventually reach that limit. When that happens, the coins will stop increasing in value just like stocks do. It's based on supply and demand. It's increasing demand of the coins that increases their value. And at that point, the coins are still being minted. And that means something kind of worrying. Now the supply begins to overtake the demand, and the value of the coin begins to drop. For those who are new to this, this is called devaluation. Since the coins are being traded for profit, that's going to be taken by some as a signal to sell, and that devalues the coins even more. Things like that can snowball in a financial system, but it doesn't have to in the cryptosphere, thanks to gas and fees. The rate at which the coins are mined can be slowed by minting one when more than one chunk of the work is being done. Mint one every 2 blocks, and the minting slows to half speed. The minting could even stop altogether, and the gas and fees would still keep the system running. It's not a difficult problem to solve, and the crypto community isn't afraid of fundamental reform. That being said, I'd like to talk about a fundamental reformation called proof of stake. Proof of stake is kind of like insurance against nefarious behavior. The system administrators or miners put some of their own money into an account that ensures their good behavior. If they were to push through a fraudulent transaction, then they would be fined from that account. Since the fine would have to be more money than they would stand to gain from some type of nefarious behavior, then it has to be a pretty good sum in that account. Right now, it's more than 100,000 USD worth of Ether, which is Ethereum's cryptocurrency. It limits miners to those who have more than average wealth, but it's still a pretty good system. Someone might take a loss to make more money externally somehow, but it would leave a trail. The blockchain is very secure, and it would be extremely difficult to hide, and that trail would begin with fraud. It would probably be pretty easy for authorities to get the authority from a court to investigate it because of that initial fraud that it began with. I'm not really seeing any concerning aggregating factors, even though all of the coinage goes through the hands of the miners. The reason is the coins have to be distributed to be worth anything. They're distributed before they're even worth a single USD, and distributed a lot more by the time they reach 100 USD. Its value is very closely tied to how well it's distributed. So it distributes wealth as well as it does anything. I'm actually kind of impressed by it. I'm not really finding any horrible gremlins, and even if I were to, I'm pretty confident that the system is dynamic enough to adapt. I don't think it will make regulation obsolete, but it looks for the most part self-regulating. I'm not seeing any systemic traps that can be gotten around, and that can't be gotten around rather. And I'm not seeing any clear Ponzi scheme. What I'm seeing is a monetary system that is as good as any yet, or maybe even better. It just needs further development. With complex systems, what we can't foresee can be a powerful enemy, and accounting for exploits in the beginning can be a powerful ally, and that's what the cryptosphere appears to be doing. Thanks for watching.